Okay, so I would say a very, very warm welcome to all of you, and thank you for joining us. Those of you who may not know, my name is Vishal Arora, and I work with Newsreel Asia, and I'm your host for this evening's online event. So just one sentence about what Newsreel Asia is. It's an online news magazine which features public interest docuseries and text commentaries. And we say that it's a marriage between journalism and filmmaking, which is why we are interested in this genre, this way of communicating with the masses. Tonight's event is actually part of Newsreel Asia's Conversations, which is a series of discussions on the art of storytelling through films and also the contemporary issues these films bring to light. And this particular series focuses on films screened at the 13th Dharamshala International Film Festival, which was held from November 7 to 10. My colleague Harshita, who is not here right now, and we attended this festival where we had the privilege of meeting several filmmakers, including Sonam. Uh, and these conversations are a result of those encounters we had with filmmakers like Sonam. And in this very first episode, we are very, very happy to welcome our special guest, Sonam-Tseten,
Thank you.
a Tibetan filmmaker based in Dharamshala. Sonam was born in Tibet, so he's a first generation Tibetan who came into exile as a young child and grew up within the Tibetan refugee community here in India. He has directed several notable mid-length and feature films, including Sampa to Pizza. Sampa is a Tibetan food, so Sampa to Pizza, and Girl from China, and also Pavo, which he co-directed with a German filmmaker named Marvin Litvak. Sonam's work often, deals with themes of separation, reunion, and the experience of exile, quite understandably, I would say. And at the Dharamshala International Film Festival, Sonam's feature film Statelessness was screened. And it's the first ever Tibetan language anthology feature film comprising four short stories or segments directed by Sonam and other Tibetan filmmakers from the US and Vietnam.
Yeah.
And these films explore the themes of statelessness, of course, and also migration, portraying the lived realities of Tibetans around the world, not only in uh, India. Those of you who may not know, anthology is a series of stories, and these stories are not necessarily related to each other, not the same characters, not same stories, but they all have the same theme. So you could see this as four films in one package. Um, so maybe I could start talking to you, Sonam La.
Yeah.
I'd be calling him La in Tibetan is when you respect someone, you will say La. So which is why
Yeah.
Sonam La.
Yeah. So you can call me Sonsi, please. Like, yeah. No,
Aha,
so
okay,
whatever. Yeah,
okay.
please. Yeah.
Yeah, so firstly, I wanted to ask you, what really got you interested in visual storytelling? Like, this is not the only medium to communicate with the masses.
Mhm.
You could have written novels, for instance, but you chose filmmaking. Why so?
Wow. Like, of course, so this is a real tough question for me in terms of like me, hello. Okay. First, I really want to say thank you to Newsreel Asia and Vishal to you. And to give me this opportunity to talk about myself, right? So yeah, of course, and whoever's watching, and the Ganesh is right there, I met him like long, long ago. I know him really well. So, but somehow, for me, is uh, how I found this like interesting is that, so okay, then I can tell you something about myself at the beginning, right? So I was born in Lhasa, Tibet, right? So I came in India in exile in when I was 6. That was in 1986, right? So I came to India, and without parents, I live in India for like that, like till now sort of thing. But still, so then I in our school, and I got a scholarship, whatever, for the college kind of thing. And then I did like economic honors, economic I did in MCC college. So then I lost interest in it because there's a math. So I didn't took the math in 11 and 12. So I really lost interest. And then at that time, I was feeling to write something myself, like just kind of poem or a small short stories, which are not publishable, nothing, just for myself. Something I grew interest, and then I came to know that there's a what do you call it, during a master, there's a course called mass communication. So I went to take the mass communication, but I tried to get into the Pune University, and there's a general knowledge kind of examination when I should be married, and Amitabh Bachchan what year, and then I failed, I didn't get through. So then, then I got like private institute in Pune, New Media Institute of Mass Communication. Now it's closed. So at there, R.K. Lakshman, the common man, the cartoonist, he's like affiliated there somewhere. I don't know how, and I don't know, but somehow, and I ended up there for doing the mass communication, and then they're teaching radio, PR, HR, like all of things. And this is one guy called now I forgot the professor's name, but somehow the guy came in and he taught us about how to write the story,
Uh-huh.
in terms of like script writing, visual writing sort of thing. And then during the class, like we have one assignment, and then entire year we have another assignment. So during the class, I wrote a story about a guy. So they really appreciate me, wow, that story is really good. They really impressed, and they really told me that that's a really good story. That's how I got uh, how I got like through the medium of storytelling, like visually, right. So yeah, I think this is the whole thing. And then I realized that because I was in in TCB school, a Tibetan village school. So there we have so many homes, the foster parents' homes. So in a one dormitory, a boys' dormitory and a girls' dormitory at that time. So we have 20 boys together, sleeping together with a bunk bed, and then there's a 20 girls are sleeping in the girls' room, like 20 bunk beds. So at the night, we have no entertainment, so we are not allowed to watch TV. Sometimes, the if we request, we do like really good job, and then the foster parents request to, can you please show us a Baywatch? I watched lots of Baywatch at that time.
Okay.
So, but somehow, for me at that night, so when we talk a lot about the stories, our own experience, how you came from Tibet to here, right? Some are
Mm.
came by walking. Me, quite fortunately, I came by car or something. But so different stories, different. Then that story I really realized when I was doing the mass communication, when that sir introduced me how to write the story sort of thing. Then I was like, wow. Before I really want to. I went to do the mass communication. It's because of I really want to become photojournalism, because I love the kind of that's how I became. So then then slowly I realized that, oh, there's something else like this, kind of storytelling. So I really want to do this some then I don't know how to do it, right? Because in the mass communication, it's not a full-fledged what do you say, that a film school. So then I end up in Delhi, and I went Aaj Tak to seek for the job. So
Oh.
then I didn't get Aaj Tak, and then I went to Z News, the Vidukon Tower, right? I give my all
Yeah, yeah.
them or something, and then somehow some of my friend, a Tibetan friend, and at that time Nidhi, who's working for Gustaki Maaf in NDTV. So they're looking for a guy to do it. Actually, they're looking for a puppet manipulator, actually, right?
Uh,
But for me, I don't know. Like, and then my friend told me to like this, and then there's a guy called IB. So he took my interview, right? So they said like to me that, if you stay 1 week in NDTV for internship, and then definitely you can get a job. And then I lied to them that, because actually I got some other project at that time, simultaneously, because this is like from like, oh, which magazine, something like, Pioneer, Pioneer magazine. So I somehow like some girl is doing a PhD in the JNU, and she wants a photographer. And I told her that, I can do it, but I have no camera. I have only like Nikon FM10, which is film camera, and I have no lens. And then she asked me like, oh, come on, like we are going to Damsala to shoot like Dalai Lama's like, teaching, and if you have no like zoom lens, how are you going to shoot it? And I told her that, don't worry, I can manage something in Damsala. You don't worry about that. If you say yes to me, I'll come with you. That's how we talk before I interview. And then I lied to IB that, like, no, 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 and I have to go to Damsala because my uh, grandmother is ill. Actually, I really lied because this something happened to me, and then I came to Damsala and I didn't get the lens. So, but somehow I got a lens like 200 millimeter, which is like, a German mat, just a focal length, 200 millimeter. It's really heavy, and my
yeah.
camera is like, not a digital, it's an analog. So, but somehow I managed to shoot everything, and I came back to Delhi. And then after 1 week, they called me, and then enrolled in NTTV. And then I went to NTTV to work with them. And first, I got really big problem because my language of speaking English, right? Because it's difficult. It's still, I'm not really good in English, but still.
Oh, you're
So
very
then the
good. Right
communication
now, you're
problem,
good.
yeah, the
Yeah,
communication
you're good.
problem, you don't understand. For 6 months, like a culture shock, and I got a pretty like, difficult, tough time. But somehow like, my team are the really good guys over there. So somehow I managed, and then at that point, like I really want to make a film in my mind. And through I'm working for NTTV, I make my first film called Sampo Pizza. So I was working, and I take this off, and I go and shoot myself, whatever. So I use my brother, cousin brother, and all this kind of actor, and then I did it. And then I make a Girl from China while working for NTTV. So then like yeah, then I left the job, and then like, I did like freelancing sort of thing. Yeah. That's how
Okay. Great,
I don't know
great
whether
journey.
I answered your
Yeah.
question or not. Yeah. Yeah.
First, I could show the trailer of the state of statelessness
Yeah.
because my next question is about that. Let me quickly share it. I have kept it ready
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that uh, they'll at least know, get some sense of what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Konda yanchi. Konda.
첸데 모라나다 김장 조던지기 나로 개발 링크레스 지지 도스 커샤
Hoy, 나 들쓰다다. 걔랑 조걸리 그래 말해.
누구? 개차시 그래요. I mean you nillam.
맞아네 그냥 얘 매제 걸 가래야 그게 아 짬블링디나 가르쳐줘요 걔랑 가래야 그게
Kama, có nghĩa là stop.
thế à bố
가르치고 매 그런 걸 말하네 여기. 난 될 등에 알아. 니다 그.
So yeah,
Wow.
this is reminds me reminds me of the film. Uh, so when after I watched it, or let me first tell you that I thought maybe there will be something about uh, China there.
Yeah.
Because, if you look at who's responsible for statelessness, it's China. I thought maybe there will be a little bit of politics also as to, uh, you know, why are you stateless, etc. But I was quite surprised that there was no element of hatred or you didn't seek to blame anyone, none of the filmmakers, four of you, but you focused on problems within the community because of statelessness. It was kind of introspective. So I was just wondering whether this was deliberate. Did you all talk about it, control your anger? Let's focus only on ourselves, or that's how you are and others.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, like this is like really beautiful question. Like really, yes. Uh, yeah. The thing is that like so till now, lots of people talking about like since 1959 we lost the country. They killed like thousands of Tibetan people, and they destroyed lots of monasteries. Like how Dalai Lama ji escaped from like Tibet to here. That's like stories like everywhere. So if somebody wants to understand like Tibetan cause, it's like um, that's everywhere. There's so many books, and you can go to Google and search. All these things comes up, right? So for us, like for me, the so important part for my life is that for me, like I always think about like who am I? Like why I'm here, right? This is my big question for me. The kind of my space and what I'm doing here and why I'm here. So this see the result of the state of statelessness, the flame itself is impact of what happened, right? Like this, they talk a lot about things, and even in India, right? So they are really kind to us, like in the government or whatever. They give a space for us, uh, very genuine space, which I'm talking about. But still, like so I really want to tell the story about what we are doing right now, and what kind of space I'm in, and what I really felt, and what I'm longing for, and sometimes kind of my dream, and sometimes kind of like see, there's different also phase, right? First I enjoy myself like a certain point of time, and but like when you think deeply, like I think I'm the result of cultural revolution, right? I'm the shadow of that. So that's why, that's why how the state of statelessness happened. But still, like, the story my story instead is called Parto. It's in between, right? So I think like at that point of time, like, people has to understand that, why I'm telling this story, right? Because like me, I'm stuck here. I'm really stuck. Yeah, I'm longing to go back for sure. Right? There's so many questions like the Tibetans like living here and how do they will go back or not? Like that's like for me, it's like too early to ask. But still, like so so for your like question, like for me is that like all this happened, but for me, I always think about like who I always ask myself that why I'm here and who are you and what are you doing or how, like yeah, this is sort of questions for me. Like yeah, I think that's why
Yeah,
it happens. Like so yeah,
yeah,
at,
completely. Sorry, please.
yeah. At the same time, what I'm thinking is that mm, lots of foreigners like or non-Tibetan they made films about Tibet and within our community some people made the story about Tibet. Uh, I really felt like, and sometimes when I watch them, like, their films are just informative, just to give the information, right? So for me, I don't like that. Like, just to be honest, like for me, irrespective of whether I make a good film or bad film, whatever, I don't care. But for me, I really want to tell my feelings, like, why my process of being in exile, like, so I can see lots of things. I can hear, I can feel it myself sometimes, right? So that's why I really want to tell that, right? Irrespective of a writer, maybe, I don't know the kind of words. So that's like since 1959, yeah. That's my feeling. That's why I think the state of Silas is born, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, great, great. And also, I feel that, you are right, especially I would say journalists like me,
Yeah.
we are so focused on politics around a conflict or around injustice that we fail to characterize a group of people, to make people care about them.
Yeah.
What comes to my mind is several years ago when I was with the Caravan magazine, and the US had invaded Iraq. Yeah.
Hmm.
So many journalists were sending us pitches about the conflict as to how many people are being killed or what's really happening there. But what we were interested in was if a journalist could talk about life in Iraq, not
Hmm.
Iraq, sorry, Afghanistan.
Hmm.
I'm so sorry. Yeah. Uh, because unless people in India, let's say our audience, unless they know who these people are, what their lives are like, what they look like, unless they know these stories, they will not care about the invasion of their country. So I completely get what you are saying,
Yeah.
that these stories are so important, and the information part of it, people already know. When they watch, it's at the back of their minds,
Yeah.
so they understand the context. I was also wondering whether you have, or did you have resource crunch when you were making this latest film, The State of Statelessness? Or was it very comfortable? You got funding, you had great cameras, you had editing equipment, marketing was not an issue for you, budget was not an issue for you. Or is it that you had to deal with limitations that you had?
Oh, yes, like, in terms of that, within our community, like Tibetan community, I think people who have responsibility and general public, right? They never thought that. Still, like, I'm not talking all of them, right? The most of them. So for me, like, for them, like, the movie or film or cinema is about entertainment, right? So there's a little, how you say that, a little like different perspective of filmmaking, right? So for us, like, so we are thinking other way around, right? So to tell the feelings of what we are going through, and that's why, like, for us, very difficult, like, and I, like, if I make I got like somewhat not an offer sort of thing, but uh I'm not going to name it, but somehow, like, mm, for me, if I'm not saying that I'm talented guy, but uh, I can make a movie like, I can go to Ladakh, to the Changtang, and set up like a family, very organic, uh, Europeans, Americans, like, I could get a producer, and they will tell me that, oh, no, no, Sunzi, like, do this, do that, because this audience will, that's there, right? So so I choose, like, what I want to tell my own story in terms of, like, I'm not saying that I don't need the money, right? Money is important, I know. But, like, if there is certain, like, a, how you say that, a certain, like, a gap between the money and me, my own feelings, right? So yeah, that's, and at the same time, what I'm thinking about is that, and this life, now I'm making a film. So when we look back, so there's no Tibetan in my history. So India, Bollywood, been for 100 years, Korea been for 100 years. So we have no cinema history yet. So for me, it's a really good opportunity for me to have a story. And I always think about like, a writer to do all these things like landscape and very exotic sort of thing. Writer, I can tell my own space where I'm in and what I'm trying to do it and what I'm feeling and day-to-day life. The day-to-day life of Tibetan exile, like, a story for me is very important at this point of time, really, because we are stateless, right? So for me it's really important, so that's why I try not to like, focus there, right? So I just trying to focus here, and this focus, right? And nobody like, showing more interest, right? There are few like, around there, but the major scenes, like, they don't much care about it. That's why the financially like quite difficult, right? Difficult, very difficult, because if I straight like, talk to you guys about the state of stateless, like my part of the film. So every filmmakers, they get like $10,000 to make a film, right? So within this, like, thing, like, so we did it like somehow, like, so yeah, this is really honest, like, kind of like answer. And yeah, and at the same time, what I'm thinking is this: in this life for me to make a film, and I never thought about I'm going to be rich. That's I already thought in my process, I really want to tell the story which I see, which I felt, and that's it, right? So this is my full stop of filmmaking, and I try not to look some other opportunities. Like, yeah,
Great, great. Yeah.
yeah,
You uh, come across as someone who is very passionate and partly also because of your own experience, like when you talk about separation, reunion,
yeah.
uh,
I did,
experience of
yeah,
exile.
yeah,
Uh, so you have experienced these things.
yeah,
Things are very close to your heart,
yeah.
and maybe things flow very freely out of you. Do you
Mm.
think that a filmmaker can do a good job if they have not had personal experiences, or the pains involved in the theme that they want to portray through their films?
Yeah. I'm sure, like, see, there were different like kind of filmmakings, right? Really, definitely, I'm sure, like, if there's no personal experience, the film, I won't say that, there's no personal kind of like feelings and the film doesn't like go well. I'm sure that that's like totally like, different like kind of zone. So yeah, so I think like, for me, I always think about now, like my kind of like storytelling is like, I have a purpose, I have a pain, right? Yeah, yesterday, like this young Tibetan activist, like, a woman asked me a question, like, Sonsala, and why, like, all Tibetan, why, like, the mind, like, is always about uh, sad, or like, or like, yeah, something like that. She asked me, and why you guys can't make, like, happy films sort of thing, mm, in terms of storytelling in Tibetan community. Then for me, my answer is that, like, so there are few like Tibetan filmmakers who like try and do this sort of thing, right? So I say like this, so we have no history yet. So that now we need different kind of like cinemas. We need it for sure. But for me, I have a pain, right? I have a pain, and I really want to tell that story for me because I have a pain. At the same time, like film for me is a therapy, really. Like, whatever I've gone through, like then I somehow, if I tell the story out of like, but it takes time, right? But when I tell it, then I feel like, whether irrespective of whether it's good or not, but when it comes to some way in the form, right? Like kind of form, in the visually form, like, I feel like, wow, like, whatever fell is there, like sort of. So then I identified myself and this kind of like, the form of which I made. But sometimes, like, I felt that, whatever it goes from me to there, right? Then the other people, like, the viewer will think about, then I try not to how you say that, attached, right? This form and me. So then people will say good or bad doesn't matter, right? So if there's a good, I feel maybe happy, right? If there's a bad, maybe I'm like a little bit, but still I'm not that like attachment. Once like it comes out, it goes out from my hand, right? So yeah, I think that's uh yeah, maybe I don't know whether I answer your question or not.
Yes,
So
you did. I
yeah.
think you
So yeah,
did.
for
And
me, it's like that
yeah,
way. Yeah.
yeah. So what I got was that yes, it is possible to make film on an issue that you have had no personal experience with.
Yes, of course.
Uh, yeah, because you know the craft, you know the craft well, and you can pull it off. Uh, but yeah, it's great if you have that experience, and then when you make it, of course, there is more depth to it. Perhaps, I was also wanting to ask you, uh, what are some things that a stateless person goes through that people like me and many others who are part of the audience right now,
Mm-hmm.
uh, that we don't understand or we fail to see?
Yeah.
Because from the outside,
Yeah.
uh, the Tibetan community looks happy,
Mm-hmm.
but from the inside, how do you really feel? I had a glimpse of that, of course, through the film that I watch,
Mm-hmm.
your film. But
Mm-hmm.
if for the audience, if you could articulate a little bit as to what does it really mean to be stateless?
Mm-hmm. Mm. So like, see, within like the Drunk, the film initiative. So we three are here. So we three have three different lives.
Okay.
Different lives, like both of them born in here in exile, and they have their own issues. Like so, we always talking about each other. Like me, I was born in Lhasa, right? I was born in Lhasa, capital city of Tibet, and 1986. I told you in the introduction, 1986. I came in exile with my mom, and she stayed there for 1 year, and then she go back. She goes back, and I lived my life with the foster parents, and and uh, and sometimes like even I don't uh, celebrate my own birthday,
Oh,
right? But during my working days in NTTV, because in NTTV there's a form you have to fill it, and then there's my 1st December 1979, kind of like we have to. So that's how the my colleagues, like very very good team, very kind guys. So they start celebrating it. Right. So at that time, even I told them that, like, really, thank you so much. It's really touching me. But still, so far, till now, I didn't like celebrate my own birthday because if I celebrate, right, there's no my aunt, there's no my mom, right, there's no my uncle. Mm, yeah, certain like, it was really incomplete, right? At the same time, uh, mm, even like me and my wife, right? So we didn't did like wedding sort of thing.
okay.
Honest, to be honest, like one like a concept, I'm not very sure about the concept about like once we do the wedding and then we promise each other and nobody touch my wife or nobody like touch my husband, whatever. This is just an announcement I've fed it sometimes, right? But at the same time, like for me, if I do wedding, right, who will come? Right. So that's like, for me, I always feel about like, dislocate. Totally, like really, like, I was like always like here and there, sometimes myself or sometimes with my wife. I don't know. So that's so big feeling for with me. If I tell you guys like one instance, like, during the process of I'm writing Parto, right? It's supposed to be a feature film before. So I was kept writing about the thing, and then this anthology came in. So then I just cut down all the characters, and then I was thinking about. So at that process, like my father was passed away in Lhasa, right? So and so then like the for me I can't go to funeral, you know. Uh, and how sometimes I feel like, why I'm here, like why I'm stuck here. And then I start angry about entire, like, a Tibetan community, or like whatever, like, and for 2 hours, or I don't know, like some kind of, like, thing. I was so angry, and then I, like, slowly I realized that, okay, like, what I can do now, like, you can't do anything much, but but somehow, like, fortunately, I can tell the story, like, good or bad, I don't know, like, but then I just, like, control my own emotional, and then, like, I was thinking that, okay, now definitely I'm going to tell a story to the world, that what I really felt in sort of my own space. Yeah, that's how I'm trying to tell the story now. Yeah.
Yeah, and I also heard about how difficult uh, it is for you to travel, especially if you, let's say, have to travel outside of the country,
Yeah.
um, including Nepal. Uh, there are many
Well,
complications.
I just not allowed. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, not allowed, huh? Okay, okay, so that's tough, Sonam. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm. Would you tell us something about your plans in the near future and or in the distant future?
Yeah.
In This Life is one of the films that you are working on, you mentioned.
Oh
Did,
yeah.
did you say that?
Yeah, yeah. I'm writing now. Yeah.
Okay, you're writing right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So are there any other film projects or what is really in your mind when you are writing this so that we know what to look forward to
Mm.
from you?
I'm not really sure, right? But the thing is this, like, I tell you why I'm writing this, because during the parto, the state of sleeplessness, like one part of my story. So I edit myself because we have no money, right, to hire the editor, and I edit. I can tell you one story, like, So I shot in Chontara, Bir, my film, 1.5 hours from here. So we done around 8:30. The entire 6 days we shot. So we reached then, like, all the setup, like, backup and all this kind of stuff, and I reached in this office like in around 11:30, right here in this office. And then, so then we have so many things to talk about and to take care of, but then I talk all this kind of thing, and I reach home from here. My place is like, I guess 10 minutes by scooty or whatever, 10 minutes. So I reach home by 1 1 a.m., and both, like, the hard drives are with me, wherever we shot. Once I reach home, I sat down. My kids, my wife, they're all sleeping. I slowly walk in, and I just put my like laptop on and watch entire scene, like whatever I shot there. I watch everything, and then I went to sleep, right? And the next day I started editing. I edit. Then I sent like some of my friends, like, how looking, blah blah blah. So they give me little feedbacks. Then I change it, and then I send again. So at a certain point of time, I was feeling like, oh, now that's too much, like, So why I'm doing, like, I felt like something like very strange in my mind, like, what, like, So every night for 1.5 months, every night I'm with laptop and editing. I have no monitor, nothing, but I was editing, like, and then after 1.5 month, I'm not sure, like maybe like 2 months, I guess. Like, so then I stopped. I put a full stop to the parto, whatever it is, right? This is a story. Now I'm not going to change. Anybody can say something, like whatever, like, now there's no changing, nothing. I full stop and then start writing. Otherwise, my heart and brain is always with the parto. It's not leaving me. Then I start writing a story. Then I just, like, every morning I'll go for walk, and I got, like, two ideas, like somehow like comes with me. And then one is like kind of love story, young Tibetan, like, the, so lots of my friends saying that since don't say love story, this is not a love story at all when I tell the story, right? So then the story changed within like 1 month or 2 months. I was keep thinking, and then now I'm writing a story about 55 years old man. He was trapped his own life in exile. right? So now it's been for almost like 3 months something. Then I was stuck. This story, totally stuck. Then I went to Busan, right? Busan for this film, and then I met like some directors, and which I know. Some are like I don't know, because like one of the director like from China, Jai Tanker. So he made a film called like Caught by the Tide. So I watched almost all of his films, right? So for me, it looks really good. At that time, I didn't know, but someone when I come back, um, 2 weeks ago or something, like I went down to drop my daughter to the school, to her like kindergarten school, and there's a lot of Tibetans around. So I was waiting outside the basket court, and I saw like this one old Tibetan man who was in a wheelchair, and I supposed to be his wife, I guess, and he is like she's giving apple to his mouth, and I saw this image. Right, I was thinking about like, oh my, come on, like now they don't see their own country back. That's something I got something, and then I got an idea in my story. The 55 years old man. So then I relate entire like world in my mind, like somehow whether it's right or wrong, I don't know. Then I look for a metaphor, something in my story is called a redemption of the man. Then it opens so many doors for me. Now I'm quite happy to writing all this story. Yeah. So this going on now. Yeah.
Okay,
It's yeah.
great, great.
Yeah.
I'm sure many have questions for you, so we should open the floor for
Yes, please. Yeah.
Q&A session.
Yeah. Yeah.
So those of you who would want to ask a question, please either press the raise hand button if you can see at the bottom bar on
Mm,
your screens, or you could
yeah.
just write in the comment box that I have a question, and then you know you should be able to.
But before this, can I say one word?
Sure, La. Yeah,
I'm really sorry. Like if I say like totally like outbeat or nothing, like I'm really sorry for that. Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely not. Absolutely
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your movies talk a lot about metaphors. So, how do you look for metaphors when you have to tell your story? Because a lot of things is internal with your storytelling. Even your normal language has a lot of metaphors, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
So, yeah.
what brings you? How do you look for it? How do you use that learning in your storytelling?
Yeah, yeah. Because like sometimes it's for me sometimes like at this point of time I saw some image for the metaphor to tell my story, like because old men and old women, they're feeding something. So when I talk about mm, my film called Pema, I think Ganesh, you watch it or not? So my short film Pema is like story about uh, separation. The theme is separation, and then there's a reunion also, but they can't reunion. So my question for this is like, what is the reunion, right? Something like that. Like, so I was thinking about like, yeah, because they comes and they didn't meet. Is that like, the answer? Or I don't know. Yeah.
Okay, we also have Yasir. Yasir, will you please ask your question? Although you have written it in the comment box, but it would be great to hear this with your voice.
Hi, my name is Yasser, and I'm from
Hello.
Pakistan. I'm also doing mass communication. Uh, can you please tell me how to give an angle to a story in storytelling in the start of a story?
Okay. So I think, okay, still, to be honest, like, I'm learning myself the filmmaking, which is like in depth, really in depth. So just now I'm just talking like, so I feel like, I'm not like what to talk, but still like, I'm still learning. So my first film is called like Tampa to Pizza. Then I met a girl from China. And then all these my films are just for information, very informative. And slowly I came to understand. Then I watched so many films, like, really, like, I'm still watching lots of films. So for you, it's like, for me to watching film is really important. And at the same time, be honest yourself. if you want to tell a story and truthful, like, to tell any story within you, you have to feel it. If you really feel it, if you tell it, and I'm pretty sure that like somebody will understand for sure. Yeah. And
Yeah,
at the
great.
same time, the reading book, for me, I'm not that like, reader. Sometimes I read like, what I want. Otherwise, I'm not a good reader. But somehow, the reading books also at the same time is really important. But for me, the most important part is you have to watch films, like, really like you have to watch good or bad or whatever the films you have to watch. Yeah. That's your starting point, I guess.
Great, great. Monish also has
Thank
a
you.
question, and after Monish, Jyoti, you could go ahead. And yeah, and then Sunil.
Yes.
Yes. Mo-
Thank you. The conversation was really illuminating. I just wanted to ask, like, if you're on a story like state of statelessness, statelessness would be a theme. The state itself would be a theme. It could be a person's existence, the essence. Maybe that's a state, or the polity which we see as a state. So I wanted to ask, like, if you have a theme in your mind, then how do you start visualizing? Like in terms of like the kind of shots you take, would they be more distant? Would they be more blurry in some sense? Like how do you complement the visuals with the story, like the essence of the story?
Okay, yeah. So I don't know whether I can get your question right or wrong, but still, like, the visual and like, the kind of like, I think the state of statelessness is like, so for me, like, without country and I'm in a foreign land as exile, right? So I always think about my process of being here, right? And before also I spoke about it, like, my feeling, like, being here and my feeling and what I'm going through, and at the same time, what I hear around and what I see around. So I think within this, like, context, I tell the story. Yeah. Is that okay? I don't know. Yeah.
Uh, and yeah, like when you like visualize the story in your brain, perhaps, or you start writing it down on paper,
Mhm.
like the kind of landscape, do you like often retort to a landscape in your story? Does that also serve as a metaphor?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah. So like yeah, yeah. So even like, the kind of actors when I'm writing it, I can
Yeah,
feel like kind of like look wise. I'm not talking about the beautiful and handsome, right? Some kind of like, the kind of image comes within me, or sort of like, then this is how casting goes through with me. At the same time, I give you one example. When I did like, a Pema, before I talk, it's about father and daughter. It's the theme is separation. I shot entire thing in Damsala, right? So then at that point, I'm trying to tell the Pema's point of view. Pema actually with me, right? So in my film, visually, there's no river, there's no mountain, there's no bear flag,
okay,
there's no monk happy. So it's about, and then like whole headrooms are like quite like, high, not like this high. So I create her own world, and then there's so many windows and door and wall, right? So some symmetrical, you guys can say that, right? So this
yeah.
is how yeah, that's how visually I can, yeah, tell the story. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Not to make it very cliche, like what we envision usually, the flags, and
Yeah, yeah,
just
yeah.
make it more grounded. Yeah.
Exactly. Because like, I'm thinking the part of the story, right? The Pema is my character, right? So what Pema is going through in her life, right? And then she's like, she never met her father for 20 years. And all of a sudden, one man come and claiming that I'm your father. I come from
Yeah.
Tibet. So then to encounter them, and how many like process of the girl will think about, and the father has the reason why, right? So why, and then this all issue of the before like China issue, right? But still,
Yeah.
this without talking this, right? Then I talk about the framing, So
Yeah.
there's no mountain, there's no river, there's no prayer flag, there's no monk, nothing. Like, it's about them and there, and then it's about the doors and the windows, like, So there's like, yeah, exposing, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
welcome in.
Thank you. Jyoti, please go ahead. And then Sunil after that.
and it was really great listening to you. uh, so my
Yeah.
question is actually very abstract, but I would love to hear your take on it. Right, as filmmakers and storytellers, we are always thinking about, what is a story, and uh, uh, when do you feel like you have arrived at your story? Like, is it apart from, the craft itself, which describes what a story is, what a story is, what is it for you? What do you look for in a story? And when do you become, what pushes you like to tell that story? Because film is so resource intensive. You can only tell very few stories. So what is it for you?
Exactly. Like, see, for me, the character comes first, before the story. That's how I don't know, like whether right or wrong, but this is my process. I told you, like, before I was thinking about two characters, a young Tibetan, maybe my kind of part, like, because when I was in Delhi, right? So I worked for NTTV, and I got a good opportunity to go to Defense Colony for kind of party, and I can meet like some news anchor, and so very sophisticated news anchor, a very sophisticated cameraman. And I think this kind of image, maybe, I don't know, subconsciously, right? Then I started writing a story about a Tibetan, a boy, young guy who is like, this character base, right? A foreign journalist, and he got like two national award in India. And then he's the girlfriend who's a very corporate, and they're living in like posh, like, uh, apartment in defense colony, right? See, the thing is this, like this whole character I built, right? Then through this, like, then I'm looking for the story, right? So then I slowly changed. Like for me, the process is about like, you're raising a child, one idea, then it keep changing. For me, I don't know for others, right? For me, it's keep changing, and then what you're saying is right. At one point, so you get something to tell, then you're so happy, right? Because I build a character and character and character, and then I'm thinking about I build two character in my next film, and then I'm talking about how I can make the world, and involving myself, my father, past father, whatever. Maybe I can slowly, like, to characterize them, right? So what the people likes, or what this my brother, maybe my friends, or whatever. So this is how I build the character, and then I'm making a world, some environment to encounter them, and some actions for them. Dialogue, I don't think much, because for me in my film, I don't want to, like, put some dialogues about very philosophical kind of thing, right? One words can understand like so many things, right? So for me, I don't like that. For me, it's about the encounter, and then within the space, whatever they say, just keep carrying on with one life or two life, whatever. Yeah, something like that. I don't know whether I answer your question. This is my
Yeah,
feeling. Yeah.
yeah,
So,
definitely. So,
yeah,
like raising a child.
yeah. For me, the character comes first. To be honest, yeah, I build the character a lot, because in this story, like, first I wrote. So lots of my friends, not only friends, like in some like professional, the filmmakers, right? So they always told me about, oh, so you have to write this treatment, right? And then, like, you have to write the outline and send to us, and then you always like talking, right? This note, I know, because the note is really important for me. So I have a note. In Korea, when I've been there, right, there's a one professor. He told me that for the researcher, has to be very proud or confident, because how much note you have. He said that, like, so I have a note. I wrote a lot of note, because now I'm not writing about the line, or no storyline, or I'm not. First, I wrote the feeling, why I'm like trying to tell this story of the just feeling, but somehow in the what do you say, that in the title I said outline. Lots of people told me that it's not an outline at all. So you have to write on like outline, right? I got it, but still, like, I make a journey of both. They have two characters in my film now. Maybe I have one's coming up. So just I'm writing this the journey of these two. their past life, their current life, whatever. I'm just writing them relate to what I feel, what I experience, or something like this. Just to parallelly, I make their own journey, and let's see, what comes in between them.
And Yasir, can you please unmute yourself, mute yourself rather?
Yes, thank you so much, Sonam.
You're most welcome. Thank you for coming. I really I don't know whether I'm here the right guy or not. I don't know. I just talking. Yes, yep.
No, yeah. Yasir, can you please, switch off your microphone? Can you hear us, Yasir? Okay. Okay. Thank you. Now, Sunil, what's your question?
Yeah, okay. Me being new to journalism and filmmaking and all that, little in continuity with what Jyoti had said, and you have chosen a story on which you want to make a film and thing. Then you will do a lot of research and things. You'll churn things in your mind, in your brain. What are the elements or aspects important for the movie, which I should have to show. You may come up with maybe 15, 20 important points that will make an impact or are actually important in the context of the story. But you can only show maybe 4 or 5 of them. How do you do that mental elimination or how do you come to those only 4 or 5 important things that you will want to portray or show from that 15, 20 important things that can also impact your story? How do you do that? I mean, because I'm new, it's very difficult to understand what to leave out, what to keep. I don't get it.
Oh yeah. I think for me is the first and foremost my feeling and I mentioned before it's kind of my space and what I really want to tell now at this point of time. For me, it's very important. Right now at this moment, we have no country, so. So I want to tell the story about a Tibetan, a day-to-day life, So at the same time, what I really what I gone through, what I see, what I experience in this in a new environment. So that's why I choose all this kind of things to tell, right? Within this, they have a choice. They have really choice, what kind of you will emphasis more. For me at the moment, I really want to talk about why I'm here in exile, why I'm here. So for I'm looking for this answer, right? Why I'm here. So that's why I think my whole thing is going around, I guess. For me, see, before this, when I started, before I mentioned you, somebody pizza girl from China, and there are certain the documentaries, whatever. At that time, I think I'm in the process. At a certain point of time, I felt that you have to be really honest what you really want to tell. Right, certain happens to me. So then now I'm looking for I'm always questioning myself that why I'm here. So that's the point. That's the starting point of my story. Most of my stories I'm telling that story. Yeah. You got my answer? Is that okay?
Yeah, yes. To a large extent, yes. I think I'm getting the idea. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much for coming. Yeah.
Okay, so now, Daya, please go ahead and ask your question. Although you have already written it down in the comment section, but please go ahead and ask it.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes.
Namaste, everyone. Me, Daya Dudraj from Kathmandu, Nepal. And it was great to listening Sonam-Tseten, and I'm thankful for Newsreel Asia for this opportunity. And I have a question that, is it possible to make a local stories reliable on a global scale? Because in Nepal, we have a many tribal stories I think Sir has heard about Raute, Kumari, Bankaria. How can we make as a global scale?
Yeah. So the thing is that, have you watched White Sun, Kalapota?
Yeah, I had.
Watch it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I think you can learn a lot from this film.
Maybe
Kalapota.
yeah, Kalapati, Kalapati.
Kalapoti, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Kalapoti, White Sun.
White Sun, not
Deepak,
yet. Deepak
recently he
Adiga.
met, recently he met Pooja sir, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So yeah, of course, like, for me, the thing is this, like, see, the local, whatever tribe you are in, see, recently one Assamese like a girl told us, she sent me the film. So it's about that, like, in India, when I don't know, old caste or not, I don't know. In India, the woman goes to the man's house, right? So in Assam, some way there's a tribal, the man has to go to the woman's house, right? So this film I watched yesterday night. She sent it to me. It's a beautiful story. It's like in verse. So that see, I'm sure, like, there's a lot of space if you think around, if you observe around, you understood yourself well, then definitely there are really, really, really good, like, opportunity to tell you the stories. Yeah, for sure.
I'm adding that how can we relate that? I understand that we can see the movie, but Indian tribal society cannot relate me. But if their making was good or something else, it may be relate. Normally in Nepal, we many filmmaker make movies about the tribal society, but Sonam sir already said that Kalapati, Sambala, recently Sambala, but we have also many more stories which are not globally sellable. I'm asking about those who are not sales.
So yeah, it depends on, right? Really, it depends on, like, whether you'll be honest or not, right? Right. So, uh, see, some, like, the films, they're always looking for a Western audience and they're looking for money, right? So they tell the story such a way, to exotical, what was. So yeah, so for me, at the end of the day, this doesn't work really well because you're not honest. Because you found some producers, you're pumping the money, like, different like peoples, and then they say, no, 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 we need a river. No, 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 this mountain goes in Europe really well. The Switzerland's comparative, and then we need a river, and then, like, no, 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 little song, and then you can use, like, more authentic of whatever the travel you're from. They force you to do certain way, because then if you say yes to the money, then definitely you have to do it, right? So it's up to you. It's really up to you. Like, you really want to tell your own story, or if you, I'm saying the money is important, but that's, you have to balance yourself. Really, what you're saying is, like, I got your point, but still, like, you have to balance yourself. And if you tell because, like, this sort of, like, the stories are really important, right? You can't just sell it, yeah. So yeah, you're right. Yeah,
Thank you, sir. Thank
you
you.
have to be honest.
Thank you. Zam, who is from Manipur, he mentioned that Meghalaya is one of the states where the man will go to the woman's place after marriage. So Meghalaya is also one of them. And another question, maybe this could be the last one, Sonamla. Yeah, so Monish has asked another question saying that what do you think, how do you think Tibetan movies will evolve, especially now that we have OTT and many vernacular language movies are being made, and with the subtitles and all, language may not be that big a barrier. So he just wants to know, how do you see it, or do you fear censorship of films by Tibetan filmmakers on OTT channels?
See, the censorship is, like, I think, like, most of the censors begin by yourself. The individuals, they make it on the censor, and then there's a censor, right? So I think, like, censor for me at this point of time, I don't care much about it, like, because if you censor yourself, then definitely censor. So you have only responsibility to tell the story, what you really want to tell the story. So at the same time, how the Tibetan cinema will come, like, see, at the moment, so in Exile, we have only, like, 20,000 like Tibetan peoples in exile here. So we have really less eye as audience. That's why for us really difficult, because in Busan also like it's quite difficult to get through. But somehow they took it because of the flame. But see, most of the the festivals, end of the day they're looking for the the particular viewers and a particular the film has to go and particular kind of market. So because in exile Tibetan filmmakers, the films never go to Tibet because there's a big like Chinese, they will say no, it's not going. But here we have 20,000 like maximum Tibet 20,000 all around the world in exile. So we have no audience yet, but still like now we are trying to like push the kind of story which we really need to tell the stories here.
Uh,
Yeah.
I would like to ask one more thing. Like, do you fear that there will be a generational gap and the younger generation's perspective would be entirely different from yours? Maybe they won't have that intensity of the pain which you feel regarding your homeland since you travel all the place from there.
Would change for sure. That would, because I have my son, right? He's 13 years old now, right? My daughter is 4 years old now, right? See, I tell you one thing, how they're changing it, this so when I was in school, in Tibetan school, so people comes to give the workshop for us, like drawing or painting or something. So like us, like we always used to write about mountains and yak and
yeah,
and like tent. And if they ask us to make some drama, right, we make about drama about Tibetan Chinese, kind of like that's when I was in school, I used to do that. Quite recently, I went to like different school. We do that. So we give a small like storytelling workshops for the schools, and end of the day they make a small short films, right? So now in Tibetan schools, right, whenever we go there, so so they're making stories for zombie.
yeah,
Ghosts, and, few of them this making about Tibet, whatever. So they keep changing for sure. That's there we don't have a control.
yeah,
All, but still, like for us to inject this beautiful, like how we inject, not forcefully, because like sometimes like see Tibetan language itself is very important to live our own like identity, right, alive. But inside Tibet, even the Chinese are like trying to like dominant, see the basic is this, like see in terms of like in history, like when we look around, so the big country will eat the small country,
yeah.
reach India and then release, right? There's few problems, but yet, like see the Chinese right now, that's why I don't like this, that what they are trying to do, they are trying to terminate us totally. That's wrong, actually. Like like really, because the Tibet is a big land, a lot of resources,
Yeah.
the resources, and then make it like quite wet. I'm not saying they take it, but the logically, like now they're really trying to like erase the Tibetan identity from the grassroots. Now the billions of like Tibetan like small kids, they don't like let them to stay in the home, so they make a boarding school and they're putting all of them there. So
Okay.
that's the like beautiful, like that's not good thing, like otherwise like big like powerful country will it. So now the Chinese are like trying really bad now, like that's why, which is not right actually, like so yeah.
Cultural genocide, yeah.
Yeah, totally. Now they did like step by step. Now they reach that point,
Yeah.
which is good actually. Like yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, great. It was such a great time, Sonamla.
Yes.
But let's conclude this episode of Newsreel Asia Conversations.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Sonamla, for joining us today. And our best wishes are with you and with the Tibetan community. And especially, I have a special love for Tibetan people. I don't know if you know that I have an adopted name, which is Tenzin Wangchu. So Tenzin, like there are so many Tenzin,
Yes. Wangchu is different.
in the Tibetan community, and I am also one. And I would also want to thank all the others who joined in the audience.
Yes.
And I would say that please do join us for our next episode, which is as early as coming Monday on the 18th at 6 p.m. with another filmmaker who is based out of Mumbai. His name is Tarun Jain. So we'll talk about a different issue. But yeah, thank you again, Sonamla and Tashi Dale. Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you.